Glorious day to you, my friends. Siarana hatea rahakaya. It is March 19th, 2023. I'm here at the French Broad River in Asheville, North Carolina. Niarata hachia rahakaya takata. Today we're going to talk about the power of the mind over matter. And this upcoming week, tomorrow's equinox. So water blessing, talk about balance, harmony, niyarata kayeta. But the rest of this week, there is so much energy that's coming in on this equinox, and there's so much we got to amp up in white magic. So we're going to unlock some of the secrets of the mind and what your mind can do when in harmony. And anyway, so let's talk about the river for a second. The French Broad River is one of the oldest rivers on the planet. The Blue Ridge Mountains are a part of the Appalachian chain, which has been around for about 1.2 billion years. And water has come down from those mountains from 4 supercontinents ago. When those landmasses collided, it created this mountain range. And water runoff has caused the French Broad River, along with the New River, the Susquehanna River. And these are all 3 of the oldest rivers on the planet. But let's talk about the mind. We're probably going to do the water blessing here tomorrow. Easy access. But today I wanted to get the glimmers of the sun shining on the water. So let's talk about the mind. I channeled so much information on the drive yesterday. It was hilarious. Going to channel Merlin this week. At the highest levels of consciousness, we are only consciousness. There is no body. There's thought. So logically, it makes sense that extension of consciousness that comes to us into this physical body, into what we think is this physical body, that same power of consciousness that has created everything is inside of us. But today, before equinox, we're going to really talk about righting the mind and righting the heart. Because the layers of who we are, of who we think we are, peel away like an onion, like sheaths, like pieces of clothing that we can take off. We get past the illusions into the heart center of who we are. The Vedas talk about the heart center, the heart mind. And the Vedas talk about the koshas, which are these sheaths the Maya of who we think we are, where we rely on food and breath. But then we get to the Manomaya, the mind. And then once we get past that, once we get into our heart center, we can then unlock the higher thought forms, where we link our heart and our mind, and we're connected to, where we're allowing the information from the universe on what's possible. Not what's probable, what's possible, and then making what's possible into reality. You know, when we start out, either we start channeling energy through Reiki, or we start getting visions, and maybe as a kid that we've had those visions, but we've learned to think differently. Hopefully when kids are raised without limits, when kids are raised to nurture their dreams, their goals, what they want to do, what they think is possible, those kids become unlimited. Those are the crystalline children, the indigo children. They are our legacy. How they think, how they it's a whole video in itself. Crystalline children. Recognizing crystalline children and inspiring crystalline children. But in our heart centers, when we think with our heart, when we unify what we think is our mind and our heart, when we pull back the veil, our heart is right there. And then this crossing to this higher knowledge, these higher thought forms, we call them higher, but they're just more simple thought forms. That's all they are. It's where we set aside logic, where we set aside fear, what we set aside what we want. And we see it for what it is. Then we can see that the universe is malleable, that it's changeable, interpretable. Abraham Hicks calls it our filter. When we see things with a filter, and our filter is our belief systems. Our filter is our soul contract. It's a whole bunch of things. But if we can take off all those filters and see the energy for what it is, it can then be rearranged. But we're not going to get there. We're not going to get there through fear. We're not going to get there through guilt or shame or grief. Yesterday was the 13th anniversary of my mother's transition. And when she passed, I didn't experience grief. Because I had my time with her. I had my full experience with her. But I did experience a little bit of grief yesterday because of her passing. But it was a smiling type sorrow. Because I'm still dumbfounded as to how I got a mother like that. I mean, if I'm making a video, then yeah, I know what I'm going to talk about. I I chose her and she chose me. I get that. I get that. But still, I am still dumbfounded and honored that she was one of the first that planted the seed in me of mind over matter, and that the power of the mind. She was super intelligent, and she was able to focus on a task. But let's get back to the heart center. When we close our eyes and when we focus on the breath, we can notice that our mind starts to quiet, that our mind starts to focus on the breath. And that when that happens, all of our worries and all of our anger goes away. It cannot exist in the heart center, in the stillness. And only through this stillness can we see the ripples in the flow of the universe. But at the beginning, let us simply be satisfied that we hear our breath, that we feel our breath. And once we have mastered satisfaction, once we have mastered listening and feeling our breath, and a whole new world is open to us. A whole new filter, a whole new interpretation of what it is. And we've learned then to focus by focusing on the breath and consistently meditating. We're teaching ourselves, we are reinforcing ourselves of our own energy, of our own ability to focus. That in and of itself clears karmic relationships, clears the chakras, it leads us to higher thought forms. We unlearn these limitations and we start to believe in ourselves, in our own energy, in our own focus. And then when we start to have visions, these are visions of what is possible. Don't worry about how to get from A to B. They're visions of love. There are visions of who you are, what you truly want to see in this world, in this universe, in your experience. And by writing our focus, by writing our mind, by writing our heart, It's not really writing the heart. It's not, because there's nothing wrong with your heart. It's just we've learned to not listen to it. Katira hatata araskanari roho ko oshayeso. My mother was one of the first people that talked about mind over matter, levitation of objects, levitating yourself. And she was a college math professor, super intelligent, and one of the first computer programmers, let alone woman programmer. And she's talking about consciousness, and she's talking about mind over matter, levitation. She's talking about focus. And my best friend growing up, John, he and I used to watch the Olympics, watch the Guinness Book of World Records. Anytime that somebody did something super amazing that took focus and practice, and we were watching it. You know, we wanted to run away and go to the circus as kids. Because we were trying everything. We were walking on the edge of fences, climbing trees. We were pushing the limits of who we were. We wanted to see what could be done, what we could do. And we were always watching specials on mind readers and people who claim they were levitating objects or moving objects, rolling balls on a table, things like that. Because we knew it was possible. Katiata arahano urt katurshka wasusuio Torah. So I guess that's what the light language is going to be about. Calming the mind, entering the heart space, the heart mind, allowing the heart mind to think, and allowing the heart mind to show you what is possible from what you thought was impossible. Tiharaha ahayito arshkana hasu ucha kashkuna harahata arit kasha na tu utushka awaru katukurahanaru shaha Niratatata ashkati tukurhusa Kiarhana hasika Kuchutu ursha Nirohoka atut kashka alti tikarha Kashka hasa Kututulta arshkana hatukatari tuta Kashihia saataka atutu Kurraha Nisra atati tukurtati katakari Kasha hasaatu urha nahati artu Kachihirsa hatakutati kataria Nariyarta arsahatira Hatar hatikashkariso uchukuruhasi Niarhana atakashahasa Kachutu uta arwatara askaha Kishkanana niarhatati rukaha Karihaska ashatu. Kutanarati arhatitaska. Kashihisatu kuruara. Kishkurhutur hatara sarierta. Kashkananata arsahayesi. Katariatur. Kushkanahara hasiya haya. Katur orhasiya. Nata arhatar sahatikoro. Kotur hatar haskaha. Kachita arhanasa. Hasatakur hutarshka. Niarahanata artitku tatawa. Shahasa ayahaka anaha. Sukutukurwarwasa. Kishkorrahatit kariana hasikotor hotarwatarshka. Kanata arsu kushuhusu urtikeriha. Narsa ata arhaka ishua. Nira hasa arioroha kawarasahe. Kutuna hata aryeskatitukurata. Yaya haka asa agya. I'm just I'm laughing at the translation of all of that. Well, I ended up on the word agya. The name of the third eye. Which is interesting because my people call it Anya. Agnya. So that being was a different, it used a different accent. Interesting. So they were talking about moving the heart energy, moving the heart space up into your third eye, into your mind. Bring with it the natural, unconditional love, the non-judgmentalness of your heart into your mind. And when you bring that up, you are also bringing up the safety and the foundation from Gaia. You are also bringing up your idea of yourself and your inspiration, your flow, along with your will. You are collapsing all the chakras up to where you think your eye, your vision is, your mind, your third eye. So it is collapsing all of the chakras, unifying them all into the third eye, and only having the crown above it. And the rest of the chakras above it. But you're collapsing everything into singularity. And that everything else, it will be revealed through your intuition when you are ready to see it. That's unifying your safety with the universe's idea of safety for you. Because in reality, we need no protection. Our high vibration is our protection. Everything is simply a vibration. And even the highest vibrations have a harmonic resonance with even the lowest vibrations. It takes a long time for those lower vibrations to go through a complete cycle. But there are intersection points. But from a higher mind, a higher vantage point, we see the value of the lower vibrations. But we also know that we will not come into harmonic unification, harmonic convergence with them. There we go. Very often. This is the natural and gentle tuning of our vibration. But we can use our mind to set up a structure so that we can be more consistent with our practice of our mind, of focusing the mind, of reinforcing the activities that serve us, how to deal with those moments of emotions are flooding, and those times that we feel like we're drowning. That's when we need to rely on our training and our practice. The overflowing of emotions are, on one hand, it's an illusion because everything's an illusion. But on the other hand, it's, can we feel it without drowning? The emotions are the trickiest thing to deal with in life. Sometimes they overwhelm us. Sometimes they guide us. But by creating healthy habits and reinforcing those healthy habits, when we start to become overwhelmed, we can start relying on some of the healthy habits. And we can choose healthier options for self-soothing. That's one of the things that Siddhartha experienced right before his enlightenment. And that was one of the triggers of causing his enlightenment. He was tempted by the illusions of his mind that he thought were real. And then he touched his hand down to the earth. And then he saw the truth, the reality. He saw the light. He became the light. And then he lightened his own load. That's what happens when we become enlightened. Life becomes lighter. The emotional burden becomes lighter. We can deal with much, 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 much more. And those things don't necessarily bother us because we see its value. We're not attaching to it. We're allowing it to be what it is. We can feel the compassion. And it's easier then to express the loving kindness. It's easier to be in harmony. And experience the joy and be the joy. Those are the four walls of God. Those are the four walls of our divine abode. And that's all that contrast is when we're not experiencing compassion, we're not expressing the loving kindness. The contrast is just a gentle reminder that we can choose it in this now, even though we experience the opposite, the contrast of it in the last now. Our mind is our worst enemy and our best friend. So why not make friends with your heart and your mind? Introduce your mind to your heart and your heart to your mind. And let them develop their own friendship and relationship. Tuhur hasa anati kachiara hasaka ayaho. Kashihis ata kanaria rata arsa anati kusha. Siara nahata ariart koha. Okay, my friends, this could easily be an 8-hour video. Kucha arihana arukuhata. I don't think I would want to watch that. So I thank you, my friends, for sharing in my highest bliss. Niharata katitakata, iskananahati orhoto kurshka, isa arihartakayatata. And make it a great day. Because why would you leave it up to anyone else? Kaniyarahata ariaraha.